Hello and welcome to another episode of the Bridging the Gap podcast, where we discuss how we can bridge the gap between business, technology, and people. I'm your host, John Henderson. Joining me today is my friend Jason Elkins from 100 Cups. Jason, always good to have you on. How are you doing?
Doing well. Thanks for inviting me. This is great.
Absolutely. How's life been treating you lately? I know we pop in a few things. I figured I would be remiss if I didn't do this episode with an appropriate cup of coffee in hand.
Things are good. The mastermind is growing. Business itself is growing. I'm getting healthier. So there's a lot of real positives in my life right now. Appreciate you asking.
Yeah. Well, I know that we wanted to cover a lot of ground today correlated to people being heard and the values and the benefits of that. So with that, I just kind of want to dive right in. Just tell me what's been on your mind lately about how business and everything is changed when you genuinely listen to someone.
So I've been thinking about this. We talked about this a few times over the last month or so. And one of the things that I love doing with my current mastermind actually is remembering that there's resident geniuses in any group that you're part of. And it's so easy to want to grab a special guest or grab somebody and pull them in to have a discussion about something. And this happens a lot, I think, there's really smart people that are currently a part of any kind of networking or organization that you're a part of. And asking for feedback or for those folks to give their opinion on a topic that they're passionate about can be really helpful. One thing that I've been thinking a lot about is not tripping over your current great employees, current great people in your circle, your inner circle, your networking groups, trying to find a specific speaker to knock the socks off the people that are a part of it. So that's been a kind of a personal mission of mine, making sure that I'm highlighting the people that are around me and tapping into their genius as opposed to just feeling like it's got to come from outside.
Yeah, and we've talked about that. I think it's one of the interesting parts, the mastermind, which I actually want you here in just a second, maybe explain a little bit more of what
Sure.
that is so people can have a context. But I know when I joined that with you, it was interesting because I didn't know any of these people in that group. So no clue what they did, what their expertise or lack thereof could be, and where I would really fit into the group. But I would say one thing, again, akin to this, you gave the room for the participants to really just lean into the conversation. You weren't sucking up all the air in it going like, this is my group, let me talk to you. Like you were giving everyone an opportunity to get together, which again, I think is wonderful. And let that shared expertise really tie everyone together and form a better bond, because now we actually are hearing the values, the principles, the philosophies, the woes and the pains within the collective group. But tell us a little bit more about what the mastermind is as it relates, and maybe even just a little bit of what 100 Cups is, because I dove right in there, but it'll help give some context for it.
Sure. 100 Cups is a program that I've developed. Really, it's on the selfish side. It's the way that I network and prospect for business. It's what I've been doing in some way or another my whole life, but it really took a turn in 2010 when I had a job end abruptly and I needed to figure out what the next steps were. And John, I'd made a lot of money for a lot of companies for a lot of years. And I thought, gosh, if I could just do a portion of that for myself, maybe I wouldn't have to go back to work for the corporate giant. And the idea was I was going to have 100 cups of coffee in 100 days with 100 business people, and hopefully that would kick off some business opportunities. And it did. It worked. Yeah. So I've been doing that since that time frame, early 2010s. And then later on, I started teaching that prospecting concept to others. And through the Tennessee Small Business Development Center and some other cool opportunities that I've had to do that. And then my thought for the mastermind originally was this was going to be the after party. So somebody goes through a 4-week session with me and we hang out, we get to know each other. And after those sessions ended, after the 100 Cups Academies, what I was calling that, after those ended, I was sad because we were just getting to know each other and, after these 4-hour-long sessions. And so that's kind of where 100 Cups Mastermind came from, is this is the after party for people that have gone through the program. Now, not everybody has gone through the program that's in the current group. It's evolved into not just networking techniques, but really just blocking and tackling business philosophies. And we take a look at what's new. Obviously, AI coming in, it's That's a big topic. So we've had a couple sessions on that. Sometimes it's going to be content creation. And then probably my favorite thing is just hot seats and talking to individuals about where they're at. And then you get a group think
Yep.
about how we can help those people. You've been instrumental in those. I've been a part of a lot of groups in the past. And there were times, like you said, I felt like the person leading the group was really there to impart their philosophies. And that's why we joined.
Yeah.
But I feel like you can overlook the people that are around you. So not only giving the platform, I actually gave the platform when I went on vacation. You taught for a week, and there was another gentleman that did another week there, and that was a little risky, but I felt compelled to do that. Promote from within, I guess, is
Sure.
in a weird way to say that.
I think that's one of the fun things where you did give me the trust to teach the group, but I think that wasn't just like a flippant, hey, I just met this guy 15 minutes ago, come
Right.
talk to my
True.
group. They're like tying this back into the value of listening. We had multiple conversations. I know that one when we met in person was a deep, long, philosophical, ideological discussion of like really getting to know each other, which
Yeah.
I think is a palpable reason to be able to know a person, get that trust, and to find out how vulnerable they're willing to be with you.
Sure. That's true. Yeah, very much. The listening aspect of what you're talking about, that's part of the philosophy of 100 Cups. It's listening 70% of the time and talking 30 whenever you meet somebody. It's a really great way to build rapport. And it's actually, the secret is it's less work. If you're just asking questions, keeping your mouth shut, it's amazing what you can learn from other people.
Well, we said that jokingly. Everybody's favorite radio station is WIIFM. What's in it for me?
Yeah, that's right.
Because everybody's favorite topic is themselves.
Our
And I
favorite
think that's
subject.
to your point, though, it does become very natural to start talking about yourself. But if you want to get to know that person, I know we talked about the Stephen Covey 7 Habits.
7 Habits.
Like number 4 was seek first to understand, then be understood. Well, you can't do that if you're doing all the talking.
That's right. That's right.
So
You and I have been part of a bunch of bad sales pitches, I'm sure.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. I feel like that's just every day I get on LinkedIn. Somebody's pitching something.
Yeah, good point. Yeah.
Well, with that, though, tell me about sometimes listening has like revealed something you didn't expect.
I love this question. My favorite sales manager had this concept that he taught called assuming innocence. And that is when, if you get like a phone call from maybe that troubling client or the family member that's maybe a little challenging, a little rough around the edges, you get your defenses go up immediately. It's like you start to put a wall up immediately before they've said anything, before they've asked anything. And I had a real example of this. We were helping with a nonprofit that was doing a live internet broadcast. Basically, it was just post-pandemic, and it was a nonprofit that was doing a fundraiser, and I was tasked with broadcasting that live via social. And if you do that I know that you have like the complete setup for that, and it's something if somebody wanted to have an event, you would kill that. Well, this is like an agreed upon favor in a way. I didn't quite have everything.
Yeah.
Like I hadn't done 100 of these. I had done like 5 at this point. So the beginning was a little choppy. Like the internet wasn't smooth. There was some permissioning stuff that happened with the Facebook page that we were trying to stream to. And we got there in plenty of time, and we even did a test the night before, and everything was perfect. And then, as live events,
doing it live,
anything can go wrong.
Absolutely.
So, it took about 20 minutes. This thing is 3 hours long, but it took about 20 minutes to get up and running. Everything's smoothed out. Yeah. And I just felt terrible about the beginning. And when it was over, the director was like, "Hey, Jason, come up here. I want to talk to you for a minute." And like, I almost said, "I'm so sorry about the beginning." And like, I wanted to approach with kind of my tail between my legs a little bit and just say, I'm, jack this up, even though, it wasn't my fault.
Eat that humble pie.
Yeah, I was ready. It wasn't my fault, but I was in charge. The responsibility was still mine. I was ready to do that. And he said, "Man, let me show you the comments that I've gotten." He said, and he started scrolling through all these texts about how thankful everybody was that they could watch this online and that they could participate online and that they didn't have to be in this room. And all he wanted to do was praise the work that I had done. And I was literally ready to just jump on my sword in front of him. And I had to follow my own philosophy about assuming innocence and then listening as opposed to just stating what I was anticipating he was going to say. Because you never know.
Well, and again, you let them talk, because again,
Right.
you can almost because your heart, your intent was to be apologetic and to lean in and go like, I can't believe I flubbed this, where in
Yeah,
reality you don't know what his expectation and perspective is until he gives it to you.
that's right. He was
Yeah.
thrilled.
And again, it's the fascinating thing to go like, wow, I thought I did horrible. You're telling me I did great.
Yeah. And I think that's probably true for people that produce things or make things, or technical folks would say, okay, this could have gone better. I think it's part of the landscape that we're in, probably. But
Well, I think
yeah,
there's a whole other aside from that, and I only do this as an interjection here. I think there's a lot of people who are commensurate professionals who strive for consistent perfection, but they hold
mm,
themselves off into a standard that sometimes is A, way too high, and B, way higher than what other people were holding them to.
it's good. Well said. Yeah,
But
totally
to
agree
your
with that.
point, I think because I've worked with a handful of producers and developers and everything else who were just, yeah, I came and checked the box and you're welcome. I do
Yeah,
think sometimes it's a little bit back and forth. So I would say your level of professionalism meant you already had an expectation that you
that's
didn't
right.
feel like you provided.
That's right. You're right. Yeah, well said.
Well, I think to that point, it's interesting because you're talking about how technology really got in the way here. Obviously, technology, AI, and all the other things we have today does make us indeed way more efficient in many things. But do you feel like sometimes the technologies maybe even gets in the way? Because I know this is one of your values with 100 Cups. You utilize technology when you can't be in person. That is a
Sure.
huge win on the technology. But how do you keep these conversations feeling real and personal and organic versus just contrived, I'm meeting just to be meeting?
Yeah, the challenge is we're always looking for the efficiencies.
Mm.
Thrive in systems, and people are successful over time because of the systems that they follow for themselves. And if they're in business for their business or for their clients, it's having the system is really in place. I feel like we can spend so much time thinking about the system, we're not actually in front of people. We're not actually
I've been guilty of
uh,
that.
sure. Well, even um, like let's say you're launching a new podcast.
Mm.
How much time are you spending on the name? How much time are you spending making sure all the tech is right, as opposed to, let me just go talk to some people. We can figure the rest of it. We can figure the rest of it out.
Oh, yeah.
So I do feel like the automation aspect can certainly get in the way of relationship building. How many times have you logged on to, like you said, like LinkedIn, you get a pitch, in your inbox all the time about things that people have pitched me, sales training and social media development, like stuff that like I do.
Oh, yeah.
Like,
Oh, yeah. That's my favorite is when you're pitching me the services I sell. I'm like,
yeah,
oh, yeah, okay.
yeah, okay. But let's not forget where the bread and butter comes from.
Yeah.
And, for me, it's like I want to meet 100 new people every year, something in that realm. And if I know that I'm doing that, I know the business will work itself out if I'm having actual conversations and listening 70% of the time and
Talk a
that
little
type
more
of thing.
about that though, because I have even heard this from a few people in the group when we're talking. And I think this is an interesting balancing act because you're striving to have, some number of meetings with various people.
Yep.
You're obviously not doing it just for the sheer sake of meeting people, because at the end of the day, we want to eat, and eating
Yeah.
means we got to, make some money somewhere. How do you balance that tension though of I want to meet you, I do honestly ultimately at some point somehow want to maybe sell you some of my services or a referral through you or whatever, but how do you balance that with the meeting them and being genuine, and to your point, giving them that full 70% of the time so that
Yeah.
you're getting to know them versus that knee jerk, I got to sell something today.
So I think about it in the big picture that these are long term relationships, and the tortoise and the hare. the tortoise always wins, in the long term. And you're going to have meetings that are one shot, one kill kind of deals. You'll meet somebody, they have exactly the slot in their business where they need you to fill it, and you'll be able to get that deal and move on. What happens is, especially when we're looking at quotas and when we're looking at, maybe our bank accounts, and we know we need to kind of ramp that up. We just need to be strategic in our time and who we're connecting to.
There is an intent. So you're saying there is an intentionality.
There's definitely an intention.
Group.
Yeah, but if you think about it like this, I can be more intentional with entrepreneur or with a business leader because I have things that can help them, and I have information that I can share with them that would be beneficial.
Yep.
I've got the 10,000 hours. I've been through the gauntlet on small businesses, and if they're trying to figure out what to do with their marketing, I could be a good fit there. If they want sales training with their people that doesn't feel smarmy, I could be a good fit there. There are things that we can do. I think being strategic. And when I started the business, John, I wasn't. I was meeting with everybody, right? Any that would say yes, right? I'm a little bit more strategic now. To a salesperson, and she sells roofing. She sells roofs to corporate, and she met with like 30 people and had 18 closes or something. It just blew my mind. And then I remembered she is an employee that has a sales job. All day long, she is doing this one thing. So she's able to really hone in on who that audience is and get in front of them. For guys like us, women, the same, in the same concept that are running a business, we have vendors we need to talk to. We have strategic partnership people we need to talk to. We have potential employees we need to talk to. There's more of a wide range. What I like to think about is maybe some kind of light categories that this could be like a short-term, middle-term, or long-term thing. There's a gentleman that just started an insurance agency, and we've been talking for a few months. And he told me a few months ago that he needed help with his digital marketing. I know that next meeting we're going to be talking specifically about that. He wasn't an insurance agency owner the first time we met. But I knew this transition was happening because I asked a lot of questions and he talked a lot. There are other people that I'm meeting that have been referrals from people in the group or whatnot. May not be a great fit for a big project, but probably could drop in the mastermind. So one is think about it in the short term, middle term, long term, and understand that you have to have all three when you're growing your business. Mm-hmm. And then the other thing is the consistency of it. You don't have to meet 10 people in one day. You just make sure it's the small habits, right? It's the consistency. So if I'm meeting a couple people a week that are referral partners or people that I've talked to in the past that might need some help now, then that's a pretty good way for me to divide that up. It wasn't like that in the beginning, but I am much more strategic about who I'm connecting with now. Can I give you one more example? I remember when I first started this business, I was doing some support for a guy that had relationships with very large companies. And I ended up supporting a bowling ball brand, believe it or not, like doing digital marketing for a bowling ball brand. And John, I was making more money as part of his team in the support role than I was in closing my own clients. And I remember sitting with him going, this is so frustrating, man. I'm making I need to be bringing in my own deals. I'm making more money from the deals you're giving me. What's happening? And he said, Jason, you are who you network with. Mm-hmm. You're hanging out at your BNI group. I'm hanging out at the National Marketing Association meetings that attract marketing managers from very large companies and that type of thing. And that was an eye opener about being a little bit more strategic with who you're gonna talk to.
So a bit in that scenario, a little less hanging out with the proverbial peers and more hanging out where the customers are hanging out.
That's right. Fish where the fish are, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. That was a good lesson early on in this business.
I think that's a good lesson for everybody because we do tend to get a little in our own head or put on our own set of blinders and we start going I think I even asked you, like, I'm having issues, but is it the weather? Like, am I experiencing the same things you guys are, or is it just me?
Yeah.
But being able to hang out with a group of peers has its value. But on the same token, being able to then flip that over and go, but if I'm not getting the clothes that I'm looking to get, well, then I need to go hang out where those people are at. Like you said, fish where the fish are. So yeah, I think that's just a good word for everybody. It doesn't even really matter what you're
Yeah. Well, that's a good point.
selling.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. So I know you do some talks with various teams. You have your own team, which is made up mostly of your family, but I know you bring in some other people. But I know you do talks with companies and some training with them. In that scenario, you're obviously the one talking. You're there to do that. But I know you well enough to know when you're done talking, you're still going around and listening. How do you, when you're talking with these groups, this is where the question goes really. When you're with a group and you find that there's probably someone with information, but they don't really divulge it for whatever reason. Introvert, feel uncomfortable, feel like if I tell you my information, I've given away the secret. Like, how do
Sure.
you get them into that mode of comfort and vulnerability to actually talk to you?
You have to be vulnerable. You have to be vulnerable, and you have to create some space for people to share with you. And um, I don't have a giant ego, so I don't mind telling people that, like, this job ended abruptly. That doesn't bother me and one iota. I don't mind telling people that I'm working on my health. That's a personal thing, but I'm an open book. Part of it is just being vulnerable up front, and then truly listening. The other thing is, anyone that I meet, I learned this from my old business coach, John Morgan. Anybody that I meet has a sign in their head that says, "Make me feel important."
Mm-hmm.
And it's a default setting now. I don't really even think about it, but like, if I notice something, I'm gonna ask a question about it or say it, or, "Hey, tell me about that background you've got there. Like, talked about this already." It's the thing I said when you came on the screen. So just kind of recognizing and maybe asking some questions around things that you're seeing or witnessing. And also, if you have information to share, be bold enough to share it.
Mm.
One woman that I actually met at a talk came up to me afterwards, and she didn't say a word during the presentation, didn't raise her hand. Afterwards, came up and had some questions. And as she's telling me what she does, I'm like, "Oh my gosh, do you realize how cool that is?" She's like, "What are you talking about?" I'm like, "They flew you out to their ranch so you could do the thing that you're doing. And you stayed with the family for 3 days and you got to know them. Oh my gosh, how cool is that?" Like that doesn't just happen, you know. They like and being able to recognize, I feel like a talent scout sometimes. Being able to recognize the talents that people have, and then just, being a mirror and feeding that back to them. And it's not disingenuous. I'm genuinely interested in people, and that's fun. That's fun for me.
Well, I think that's another really powerful point, because so many people, and I fall into this trap too, like, you get so jaded at the things you do that it no
Sure.
longer even feels like you're doing anything special. And but you get to that point to even where you almost go like, the thing I do isn't even special. Does anyone even really care? But if you're not talking to people and getting that opportunity and they're genuinely listening, because to your point, when they're doing cool things, they're just like, that's my day job. It's like
That's
when I
right.
talk to a pilot and I'm like, yeah, I know you fly all the time. And I'm like, but you're flying a plane with all these people on it. Like, this is
Yeah.
amazing. It's
Yeah.
still cool that this giant thing, I don't understand aerodynamics to the extent of how'd you get this giant thing into the air. Like, it's just crazy to me.
Yeah.
And they're just like, yeah, whatever, man. It's another day. I'm just flying. Like it, but that's
Yeah.
the need to have that affirmation. I think there's an interesting, I'll backtrack a hair. I think there's an interesting conundrum with the interestingly connected yet disconnected dichotomy that technologies create these days.
Mm,
When you talk about people being able to quote unquote connect with other people, we've never been more connected as a society at a
true.
whole. And yet things like various social medias and other just, time sucks that are on the internet actually cause this huge chasm of disconnection, because people put on their little isolation hat and they're fine. Which is again why I love the fact that you have this intentional goal to meet people. I am curious though. I know the story, the one about the trains. If you're willing to divulge that, we will obviously say no names, but I do think it's funny because I think it plays a little bit into that discussion of leaning into a conversation but not listening first.
Yeah.
And right, because again, cool background. Yes, this was new for me. Anyone who watches the podcast will see the old office. This is the new office. So again,
Yeah.
a very clear thing to talk about. But sometimes the situational awareness of walking into an office and thinking, oh, I'm going to grab a hold of that little thing and make it be my anchor to talk to you may backfire.
Yeah. Let's talk about that. The story you're referencing, I was new in sales, and they put me with somebody that was training me. I have a feeling that they were just available that day. That's my guess. But so we went on a sales call. This was when I was with a technical staffing company. We're talking to the chief technology officer. We're in his office, and he had toy trains all over the desk and on the wall, wallpaper, and there's just toy trains are everywhere. And the guy sitting next to me says, "Man, I loved my Lionel set when I was a kid. This office is so cool. When did you get in trains? When did you get involved in trains?" And the guy looked up and he said, "Man, I hate all this shit. My wife decorated this place and I can't stand. I hate it all." And guess what? We got no deal off that, and the relationship, just all the air kind of went out of the room, and we were done in 10 minutes. And that was a good lesson. So but we're taught to like connect based on surroundings and connect based, hey, that's a cool sweater, John. Where did you get that? Like we're taught to do these things, and you could easily flip that around by just asking better questions. It was a few
Segue.
years.
I want to segue into that because that's going to be a good point. Don't lose that point right there, the question.
Okay.
But yeah, finish that thought.
A few years later, I was in an office and there was a bobcat stuffed and mounted on the wall in the office. This thing was, yeah, it wasn't live.
Okay.
But it was big. It might have been a hunt in Africa. I don't know, something that they brought this giant cat back and mounted it to the wall. And somebody finally stopped me and said, "You have not said a word about this cat. Everybody comments on the cat when they get in here." And I just had this flash of the train room. Oh, tell me about the cat. Like, as opposed to, because maybe they hate the cat. I don't know. You don't know. Right. Maybe they might hate the cat. So yeah, I did learn a very valuable lesson. And it was funny that it was like a full circle moment to keep your mouth shut about things until they get brought up or ask better questions about them.
Well, the better questions, I think, is an interesting one because I know we've found some of these in some of the discussions we've had individually, as well as even some of the discussions we've had with the group. But sometimes it's not the big profound question that cracks open the nut or really provides the profound insight. It's the small one.
Yeah.
Do you already? Because I know the answer to this, but I want you to push into this. Like, how do you use those questions, or like it's something in your back pocket that you're always ready to just pull out and prompt someone to really give them that opportunity to start pouring out?
My favorite question to ask somebody when I first meet them is, "Hey, tell me your story. How'd you get to where you are now?" Like that. And, they'll say, "Well, how far back do you want to go? Or how personal do you want to get?" Or whatever the thing, but they will, it tells me what they're thinking about. So tell me your story. And what I'm hoping for is maybe their origin story, how they got started in the business that they're in, or a couple nuggets they picked up along the way. So that's my favorite opener. I also like to find out what they know about the business that I'm in. And so I might ask them, what has been your experience dealing with marketing or marketing companies? Tell me the good and the bad. And the other thing I like to ask is, tell me the things about your industry that you wish more people knew.
Yeah, that's a good one.
So then it opens them up to, you guys don't know how hard I work. I remember talking to an engineer when I was doing some staffing, and we had it wasn't adversarial, but he was not warm and fuzzy to me. I was bringing people in, getting them hired at this company, and he was just always cool to me. And I just asked him, like, what is your relationship with recruiters? What is it that you think they miss? Or what am I missing here? And being vulnerable to say, I am missing something. And he said, you guys don't understand the pressure that we're under to get things right. So when you bring in a candidate that's not really good, that's so much wasted time. And what I need them to understand, and he pulled up like an example of a product that he was working on. He starts walking me through the level of detail that he's going through on this product. And I was like, okay, all right. So nobody walked in his door that wasn't like, when I met them, I'm like, oh, this is super smart and super detailed. And like, he doesn't get to see any candidates unless they felt like a home run to me for that specific thing. But it took some vulnerability. It took the ability to approach him and be willing to let him know that I felt like I was missing the boat there.
Yeah. Well, and I think it's again, all the cliches and the adages are cliches and adages because there's so much truth in them. But asking those open-ended questions are how you actually get to information. When you give people the opportunity to go, yes, no, maybe, they're not conversing. They're maybe half-heartedly responding.
Yeah.
But they're not conversing with you. You're not actually digging deeper into really getting to know that one. I think that the tell me your story and that putting that ball in their court to be, I could talk about business, I could talk about my childhood, I could talk about my relation. Like, it just gives it over to them of like, anything you want. It's open-ended. I'm here to listen. Yeah, that's a good one. We alluded to this a little earlier too. Like, I know that on any given day-to-day, just generalized business pressures, I think it was funny. A lot of the things you were saying, in my opinion, starts to go, when you start treating people like a number, $1 in my bank account, a quota I have to hit, the number of calls, the thing I get. I think that's where we start having these issues. Where do you find that those kind of pressures really make it tough on you to truly listen? And how do you recalibrate? Like, how do you get back into going like, you know what? Yes, I've got my stuff I need to do, but I'm here for you. I'm here to listen to you. I'm here to know you.
Yeah. We are under pressure right now. And you and I've had these talks privately. It seems like we're working a little bit harder for the same things. And, a lot of times, whatever the election cycle happens, the first year is always a little bit weird anyway. It's not like we haven't been through this before, but there is some, and it's not just that, there's other things, factors, and, AI taking over a lot of, the day-to-day stuff that a lot of people do for work. Is scary. The two things I think about when I start to get overwhelmed on that is, it's not about me. If I really truly think that I'm put here to help people, then I better be going after making new relationships. Mm-hmm. So as opposed to, I got to get this quota out, or gosh, we could use some more cash flow next month. If I really just step out of the way and go, okay, if I'm just helping more people, that stuff's going to take care of itself. Mm-hmm. And if the sales funnel is a little bit low, or I'm feeling some anxiety around that, I just need to kind of ratchet that up a little bit where I'm meeting more folks. Mm. So I still can be my genuine self. And in those moments, I need to step out of the way, and it's not just about me, and then ratchet up the numbers a little bit. Those are things that help. And John, if you do what you say you're going to do, and you're treating people like people, and you have some skill, whatever that skill is, work finds you. People are going to find you to help them. One of the things that has been a difference maker for me this year is I have a category for different price levels for folks. So if somebody just wants to be in my radar with the network of people that I have that love helping others, and they've got an hour a week, the mastermind's a good option. It's less than $100 a month. They can hang out there. It's low impact financially, but it's high impact on relationship building and knowledge. That's something that if I talked to somebody before and they weren't ready for a social media project or some sales training or some of these other things, I didn't really have a place for them. I didn't have a way that I could help them. So having offers that fall in line with some different levels has really helped me as well. I don't know if I'm answering your question. These are things that I've been thinking a lot about as it relates to changing work landscape
Yeah.
right now.
Well, I think that's an interesting part too, is because it makes it so that everything is not a zero sum game.
Right.
It's a yes or it's a no. It's like I have options. We've got the buffet of things how we can interact, connect, which I just think that's an interesting and well planned out idea, whether it's business or personal. And I say this because I like meeting people. We've talked about this. I like to travel mostly because I like to eat and try different foods and different things,
Yeah.
but I like to do it because I like to experience different cultures. But if all I could do was just go travel, eat, and come home, I'm not getting to know anyone. I have to have this array of things I want to go and do and experience. You got to see some things. You got to talk to some people. Get in there so that you're actually meeting them. But I think this is good for general purposes for people on a personal side. I mentioned earlier, how disconnected yet most connected we've ever been. I think it's because people don't lean in to genuinely get to know another person,
Yeah.
or dare I say people group, which, don't get me wrong, it takes intentionality. It's not something you just flippantly do. But I think if more of us would do that and lean into getting to know the people and their cultures and their backgrounds and their stories, that's really what will bolster the connection, which I think offers up. We didn't talk a lot about trust, but we've talked a lot about vulnerability. I know in the past, you and I've talked about this, like, you don't get trust out the gate, and I can't make you vulnerable until I come and be
That's
vulnerable.
right.
And so it's a mutual vulnerability to figure out, can I trust you and you can trust me? But the proof in the pudding over time is how you figure that out.
That's right.
But if I come in here and immediately treat you like, you're a sales quota, and if I don't close you, then you're of no use to me.
Yeah.
I smell that a mile away.
But that philosophy, that's what was taught.
Oh yeah.
That's what was taught to me earlier on. There's so many options right now we have for sales or for purchasing a service.
Mm-hmm.
There's so many options that we have now that if we don't have a relationship and we're in a business that can even be thought of even remotely as a commodity, we could be in trouble.
Oh yeah.
We got to be focused on the relationship side of that.
Without it, what are you doing work for? I'm not doing work for the computer's sake. I'm doing work for someone on some other end of something, whether it's the clients, customers, but somehow it's still all about the people. Just tell me about, when you look back, like, any moments that you see specifically where listening, or again, maybe just some of those, like, introductory questions just really sets off a whole chain reaction of someone just like having some growth or a breakthrough or just their own profound moment as you give them the opportunity to talk?
Sometimes when I meet with people and we can help them as the team, perhaps, sometimes they don't know exactly what to even ask for help. A great example: I met with a woman that had an online business. Basically, it's in the space where you can give gifts to other people. So if you're selling a bunch of real estate or mortgages or products and you want to gift some people, you can go on our website and sign up, and everything's locally sourced and unique. It's really cool. It's a really cool business. And she did great her first year. She crushed it. Year 2 rolls around and she's like, man, I am working like crazy just to keep up with everything. And after several discussions, I'm realizing that this is a technology issue as opposed to a time issue. Really, it's a technology issue because she was doing things with inventory control and back and forth with clients on what they wanted, and then back and forth with clients on some communication aspects, and back and forth with Canva and Google spreadsheets and this and all this stuff. And she's got 2 websites, and it was like, oh, it took a while, but I'm like, oh, you know what? We could help like automate this whole thing. the sale comes in, you don't have to do anything until you get a notification, and then you can go to work. But even that is tracked out through the back end of the system. She didn't even know that was possible.
She doesn't know what she doesn't know.
She doesn't know what she doesn't know. And, if I'm her, I don't either.
Right.
Right. I'm good at selling this thing. She killed it her first year. Like, I was really impressed with her ability to get in front of people and bring deals in. But year 2, as things were ramping up, when we start something, John, we don't always have it all figured out, right?
Oh yeah.
So she was just in the moment of, oh, this is the second wave of like good things are happening now, but I can't really keep up, and wasn't sure how to do that. And we were able to like really change her business, but she wouldn't have known to do that, or she would have kept trying to hire a web person or a inventory control person or whatever. And we were able to put all those pieces together, and it wasn't easy. And we're using automation tools and some back-end stuff. We had to learn a new system. Like, there was a lot of effort that we put in, but we wouldn't have got there without that. And the other piece of this, I really like encouraging people and finding out what their strengths and their skills are.
Yeah.
And to tell her, man, you're the best salesperson in this industry I've ever met. You should be doing a lot of that. So encouraging her on the thing that she can crush all day long, and just saying, let us just help with this goofy stuff over here. Not making it even like I got all the answers because I know the technology. No, you're the one. You're the engine.
Building the plane while we're flying it all the time.
Yeah, right, yeah. Right. But she was the engine making it all work, and I think she was happy to hear that, and then happy for the help.
A slight, almost inverted point of that one, because I know we've talked about this recently. What about when you find the listening that you need to do may not even need a response? Because we were talking about people who sometimes just need the catharsis of being heard. Yeah. Do you find that sometimes, like, as people get really opening up with you and they're off on some random tangent and you're like, okay, but it's almost like it's the first time someone's actually listening to me and I'm getting to say my piece? Like, have you experienced that?
Yeah, I think sometimes that we have the clients that we do because they get to tell us the things that they can't really tell anybody else. They get to complain about things that they can't really complain about to their partners or family or business associates, and we'll listen. I had a client that was really upset with this Google connection. You and I have talked about this. We could not get his page verified, and this was something that should be easy was not, and it took a little while to get that. And one day he called in here, and I wasn't here, and my daughter answered the phone. She works on the team. It's not like she was just some random kid. 27. She can handle herself. But she said, I haven't been yelled at by a fully grown man in a long time. And we were joking about it. And she said he didn't really yell. He was just really frustrated with the situation. And when I talked to him next, he's like, man, I want to apologize. He said, but I want to tell you something. Your daughter really listened well, and then told me she understood, and then told me that she was going to work hard to find the solution. And that's all I needed. I just needed someone to hear this frustration. And it's really interesting, just that happening. The fact that there was a problem and then we responded a certain way to the problem actually endeared us more to the client than if there was no problem, by listening, by just being a good listener. And, some people just want the product and just want the solution to work, and, that's fine. And others need a little bit more hand-holding or empathy, and we're a really good fit for somebody like that.
Well, and I know we've talked about this, like in our business, we don't typically strive for a one and done project.
Right.
Not because we're anti one and done projects, and it's not that we will always say no to them, but really we strive to be a partner. Like, we want to plug into our client's world and get to know the people there. And really, to that point, like, we want to understand the goals and the visions and the aspirations, because that way, when they come with something and we come with something, we're having good conversation. But it takes listening. Well, all you want is a one and done. I'm like, can we output work? Sure. But no one at the end of the day, and this even for the client who may have gotten a very successful project, no one at the end of the day leaves that going, that was amazing, because it was a transaction.
Yeah.
They, even
Yeah.
if they
Well
get the
said.
thing they want, they're just like, man, okay, yeah, you did the thing, but it's like, you hope you can go back to that well again and hope that you get more work from them. But when you
Yeah.
really get that partnership, that's when the client work gives you the ability to listen to them listen to you once that trust is formed from that vulnerability. And now you
Yeah.
really have something magical happening.
Just to that point, John, too, deals can happen really fast when the relationship is already established. Like
Oh, that's
really
why I
fast.
love referrals, because you already got the warmness of
That's
the
it.
relationship handed
That's it.
off.
That's it. The guy that I'm actually talking about right now with this Google issue, he was a partner in a business and the partnership split, and he needed a new website. He needed all his free socials. He needed new logos. He needed rebrand. He needed content. He needed video shot. Like it was the biggest single project that we had for the year. And it was one phone call, and it was like in November of
Mm,
2024, 3, like bring it on. Let's wrap this year up good, And to think about, like, I had never charged him more than maybe $300 or $400 on a project prior to that, and we had nothing in the process going even at the time. Like this was we were starting from zero, but the relationship was already established, and years in the making.
yeah, yeah.
And it's just one phone call, and I'm not even competing against anybody else. Like, I need your help with this. Here's everything that I need. Just give me a price and let's go.
Let me pivot us back real quick on a technology question, because I think it's just apropos. We touched on this a moment ago, and you were talking about AI and the scariness of that.
Yeah.
And we collectively in our group, we've talked about that. But just when you think on a bigger scale, as businesses and technology and everything just keeps evolving, what do you think we actually have in front of us for the future to really continue and maintain these authentic connections? Do you think we're just going to struggle with it because technology is going to get in the way? Do you see something, maybe coming down the pipe that is going to enable something more, or you think the technology is just utterly ambivalent to this human connection?
If I was a futurist thinking about the future of tech and business and connection, um, I believe that people that understand how to communicate well in person and how to build relationships, whether that's over Zoom or Google Meet or whatever, are really going to, I think the time for those skills, those soft skills, to actually be valued, going to skyrocket, because there's so many things that we can automate now, and there's so many things that we can do so much faster in production now. And a lot of it's great. A lot of this is really a good thing. It's a good thing for the economy. It's a good thing for businesses that need to automate some processes. But man, if you don't have a channel partner person or a communications director or salespeople that actually know how to have a real conversation, I feel like you may try to automate that, but I don't believe you're ever going to have the kind of growth that you would have if you have a human actually leading those things. Sounds weird to even talk about, but I can get a chat agent to make cold calls, right? That sounds pretty similar to a human, but someone that is going to manage those soft skills for your company, communications director, someone in leadership that is spending the time developing partnerships and whatnot. I feel like that skill is finally going to get some kudos. Like I've felt forever that your ability to have a conversation with somebody and your ability to transfer an idea from one person to another and listen well and support people around you, empathize and whatnot, is I've always valued that highly.
Mm,
That has not always been valued highly.
yeah,
It's let me find the killer salesperson or the lead developer that can't really talk to anybody but gets code done 7 times faster than everybody else on your team. It's like you'll put up with some stuff with that
yeah,
person maybe.
yeah.
But there's going to be a shift, I believe, in the value of communication.
Okay. All right. Well, let me get you one more before we wrap up here, because we're coming up on the hour.
Okay.
Have you had a time recently where just maybe giving someone your full undivided attention made a bigger impact than you actually expected?
Yeah. Yes. There's a woman in our group that was talking about feeling like she can be seen for the first time as who she is. She didn't
Mm-hmm.
want to, doesn't feel like she has to hide behind not turning your camera on, leading with her best advice, which is another foundation for 100 Cups. When you're in a meeting, if you hear something, telling those people what to do, even though they're not paying you right now, it's an hour,
Yeah.
they're only going to be able to implement so much. But someone telling me that because they've been around our group, and because I've had a couple sessions with her, she just called me saying, I need to talk to you about this thing or her next move in business or whatever. Like, it was almost like I don't even know how to respond to people when they're saying really nice things about me. It's kind of this weird thing. I'm usually the one recognizing the cool things in other people.
Mm-hmm.
So that kind of caught me out of left field a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
And the fact that she feels more confident with her family and feels more confident in getting the next job and feels more confident in saying no to things that aren't a really good fit for her because she's going to have to compromise some things. Uh, that was really meaningful. And that stuff is happening in bits and pieces more and more. But man, she went on a rant, called me afterwards and went on a rant. And it was cathartic. It was really great to hear. The mastermind group doesn't make much money. It's not
Yeah.
a thing, but the relationships and the business aspects that are coming out of it are fantastic.
Well,
So it's just a reminder.
just knowing you even help someone to that degree, sometimes you can't put a monetary amount
Right. It's like, okay, all right, I'll do this every week for the rest of my life. Okay. You
on
got it.
it. Right? All right, man. Well, for those who want to know more about 100 Cups or just get in touch with you, where should they reach out and find you these days?
Coffeewithjason.com.
Coffeewithjason.com.
They can schedule a discovery call there, and I'd love to chat with them. If you're listening to this and you want to have a conversation about business development, marketing, relationship development, or just you got an interesting story you want to share, light me up.
All right. Well, Jason, thank you so much for the time. I always love talking with you because this probably could have gone on for 2 hours, but the listeners would be very aggravated.
Yeah.
But
Yeah. I appreciate you very much. You were pouring in early in the group and in me, and I really appreciate that. You are the guy, you are one of the few people that I can call at any time and go, hey, let me run this by you.
yeah,
And that's so valuable, man. I really appreciate you.
well, again, I thank you for the trust in hearing anything I may have to blather on about.
All right. You got
All
it.
right. All right, guys. Well, thank you for joining this episode with Jason Elkins on Bridging the Gap. For those of you who are looking to find us, it's bridgingthegap.com. Stay curious and keep connecting, and we'll see you in the next one.